The A7 is the full-frame flagship of Sony's mirrorless camera line. This is the A7II, the mama bear of the lineup.
This is part 2 of my review, covering the video features. The A7II has everything I look for in video: audio in, headphone out, full 60p HD using either XAVCS at 50 megabits per second or AVC HD at 28 megabits. I would typically prefer the newer compression and the higher bitrate, and in this case that's XAVCS, but I honestly don't see much difference between the two. Here's the same scene side by side in XAVCS and AVC HD. There's an inexplicable 1 hour time difference in the timestamps of XAVCS to AVC HD. There's a low-res MP4 file option for social media, as well as dual record. True 24-frame recording. You can start recording using the currently selected still mode. If ISO is under 200, it resets to 200 but returns afterwards. Running time at the bottom, remaining time at the top. Movie shutter ranges from 1/4 to 1/8,000th. I like the slow shutter effect. Like motion blur in stills, it captures the energy of New York City. Overheating isn't an issue, but recording time is limited to just under 30 minutes. XAVCS can be recorded only on an SDHC card, either Class 10 or UHS-1. Movie mode still frustrates me. If you press the shutter button, you get a warning that A, it doesn't work, and B, you need to press the difficult to locate and press movie button to start recording. Wouldn't it be simpler to just start recording when the shutter button is pressed? I don't get the decision to present an error message instead of just starting record. You can select, but can't set, a custom white balance in movie mode, not in program, aperture, shutter, or manual. You can't use lock-on autofocus in video. You can't register faces. All of which tempts you to record video from the still modes, but the display doesn't change to video aspect until you start recording, and there's no audio out on the HDMI in still modes. Urgh. What movie mode does do is change the HDMI output to 16:9 and send audio out. So when recording to an external recorder or using an external monitor, you definitely want movie mode. Oh, and note that you can't take photos while recording video. Just as well, really. Ideal video settings aren't very good for stills. There are several on-screen markers and guides to assist composition for various aspect ratios. All 4 exposure modes are available in video mode. Select them using a setting on page 7. I tend to set the shutter and ISO using shutter priority, but full manual is my preference. In video, focus options are limited to manual or continuous auto. Manual would be good if you could get an assist from the shutter button or AF on to focus, like single autofocus. Or if expanded focus would display, but it doesn't, even when you're not recording. Peaking is the only assist available. I was reasonably successful in manual, although here, when I set my focus on the mic, depth of field left separate kind of soft. The live HDMI out is full HD, either 24 or 60 frame output. Disappointingly not 4K, that's available on the A7S. This scene, side by side with XAVCS, is ProRes HQ from an Adamus Ninja Star. Again, I'm not really seeing a difference. The Ninja Star also records timecode and can be triggered to start and stop recording using the camera's video record button. You can select a creative style like black and white, and many of the picture effects like selective color. You'll see which, like watercolor and miniature, aren't. They're dimmed out on the effect selection screen. The onboard mics are useful for ambience. They're average quality, some peak distortion in loud recordings. You can set the audio level, but you can't disengage the limiter. The on-screen meters are a good size, and there is a direct setting if hearing the audio processed through the camera is annoying. I thought there could be a little more gain in the headphone amp. Sony has started to add ND filters to some models, but not here, where it's badly needed. Movie mode pretty much requires 1/60th shutter speed, and that makes it difficult to compensate on bright days. I know you can buy ND filters, but with so many lenses each with different filter diameters, it would be nice to have it built in. Low light performance is exceptional. This scene is illuminated with a single candle, f1.4 on the 35mm, ISO 3200. This is a flat recording. Flat, meaning I didn't use picture profiles, one of the signature features of this camera. Profiles change the flat and linear response of the sensor to curves, which can provide a greater dynamic range. This is a non-trivial feature found on pro cameras, enabled here with an extensive feature set. There are 7 defaults. You'll need to read up or do a lot of testing and trying. There are well over 1 billion combinations, to which the extended online manual devotes a scant 4 pages, which provides a 1,000-foot overview of the default profiles and gamma settings. These settings allow you to modify the sensor's response to light, using a variety of adjustments to change the amount of information recorded in the darker and lighter areas of the image. So just to keep it simple, there are 9 gamma curves used to make images more or less contrasty, and 7 color profiles designed to complement the gamma curves. These correspond to some industry standards for video recording and viewing. Then there are the deliciously tempting settings like detail with adjustments like crispening, a total of over 1,000 combinations here alone. Or color depth settings, 6 colors with 15 settings each. I think that's over 5 million permutations. For pros, the star attraction here is SLog II, also available on Sony Pro video cameras, increasing the dynamic range of an image by 800%. Sounds great. Trouble is, looks terrible here, as it's overexposed. The minimum SLog II ISO is 1600, which needs ND in sunlight. And because it needs to be graded. Color and exposure adjustments made in pro video editing software. For most of us, it's overwhelming, with the potential to really screw up a recording. I asked a pro which settings he uses to achieve the best results.
So my preferred settings for picture profile, I shoot SLog II whenever I can, which is usually 95% of the time. I love the dynamic range that I get from that setting. I think it looks beautiful, it looks filmic, and I don't get that as much with other cameras. So I go to SLog II whenever possible. Black gamma, range middle, level 2. This is especially useful if you're shooting in dark places, just so you can get a little bit more detail out of the shadows. Color mode. They suggest you use S gamut for the most dynamic range. I don't really like the color representation with S gamut. I find that movie and still are more accurate, although more saturated. When I go into saturation, as you can see, it's already at -8, so I can work on it in post. Color phase, -1 leans things a little bit more to the magenta, and for skin tone, sometimes that can be favorable. Color depth or luminosity, I leave that all at 0. And detail, I'll go down to -7, no in-camera sharpening. Any sharpening I'll do in post. Typically I'm a post guy, and I'll spend more time on something and get a better result, in my opinion.
Tom shot this scene for me, and then graded it using speed grade, and he gave it a nice cinematic look. Much nicer than the harsh and contrasty default image with profiles off. Let me show you on a waveform, which is like a histogram used by video technicians. The image is left to right, black at the bottom, white at the top. The standard movie setting, default profile 1, uses 100% of the available range. Switching to SLog, the information is compressed to about 50% in the center. There are no true blacks, no true whites. This enables a greater recording latitude, a wider contrast range. Now, I'm not suggesting that you don't use these settings, but take the time to play, try, test, and experiment with recording and grading before you commit a setting to record your daughter's wedding or your French cycling vacation. Once you've fine-tuned your picture profile settings, they can be saved and copied to another camera, for a 2-camera shoot, for example. And that's when those M1 to M4 settings saved on the SD card will be especially useful. Battery runs about 1% per minute while recording, slightly less if you're recording externally. Kitted out for video, again, the battery grip is very useful. The Pro Audio adapter adds XLR connectors and includes a shotgun with a windsock. Little mixer on the other side offers line level for connecting to a mixer or mic level inputs, and an external monitor. In addition to the basic information in the A7II manual, Sony provides an online guide, which you'll need to help understand picture profiles and other advanced settings.
The A7II is a near-ideal multi-purpose camera, excelling at both stills and video, and I have no hesitation in recommending it on a quality or a technical level. It performs beautifully, focuses fast, it's great in low light. I got some terrific images and amazing footage. My minor issues are all about usability, from the awkward placement of the menu button to the exclusion of features from video mode. This camera needs a little more attention to detail.